should Tennessee fear playing on the road at Vanderbilt? Tennessee, to make the college football playoff, has a simple objective: beat Vanderbilt. That was a simple objective given to Robert Nealon back in 1926 when he was hired, was even the score with Vanderbilt. And when he retired, he had even the score with Vanderbilt. Tennessee has dominated Vanderbilt. It just seems like the easiest task. But this year, road upsets in the SEC have been the norm. Just last week alone, 3 ranked SEC teams lost on the road to unranked SEC teams. Now, Tennessee is no stranger to being a victim of this. Tennessee, as a ranked team, lost on the road to unranked Arkansas. Vanderbilt is no stranger to being one of those SEC teams to pull off the upset. Vanderbilt, at home, upset Alabama back at the end of September. So there is a concern here. On top of that, Tennessee under Josh Heupel is 6-9 on the road, guys, in SEC games. Excuse me, not SEC games, just in general. They're 6-9 on the road. That's not a really good situation. No, excuse me, it is SEC games. In SEC games, they're 6-9 on the road. So Tennessee has a history of struggling on the road. They've been one of the victims of ranked teams falling on the road this year to unranked teams. They're playing a team that is one of the unranked teams to beat a ranked team at home, and they're playing them on the road. On top of that, it's Vanderbilt, who always gives their best effort to play Tennessee. Should Tennessee worry about playing Vanderbilt on the road? The obvious answer is yes. Now, there's a few things working in Tennessee's favor. Let me talk about those for a minute. Actually, I'll get to those. I'm going to get to those a little later. First, let's talk about why Tennessee should fear Vanderbilt the most. Vanderbilt, I'm going to give you a history lesson, guys. 8 years ago, when Butch Jones made his life championship comment, which was hilariously, laughably stupid, we all agree, Tennessee wasn't going to win the East or play for the SEC title, which was the goal of 2016 with Josh Dobbs at quarterback. However, they were 8-3, and they were about to go play Vanderbilt. And if they beat Vanderbilt, they were going to go play in a New Year's Six Bowl, which would have been the best bowl game by far for them since the former days, probably since 2001 when they went to the Citrus Bowl. I know the New Year's Six Bowl wasn't a Citrus Bowl, but it was just a different type of organization back then. So point being, they were going to go to a New Year's Six Bowl had they beaten Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt shocked them with Derek Mason, which got Vanderbilt to a bowl game, and Tennessee had to be finished 8-4 and go to the Music City Bowl. So there is a history behind this. Tennessee is going to be in for a dogfight. Now, you can sit there and say, oh, but they're not going to overlook Vanderbilt. They're going to take the game seriously. Okay. Well, we do know Texas A&M did not take Auburn seriously because Mike Elko let slip that they were focused on Texas. Whoopsie. Okay, so there was that. Do you guys not think Alabama took Oklahoma seriously? Because I think they did. Do you not think Ole Miss took Florida seriously? Ole Miss knew that this was going to be their toughest out to make sure they clinched the college football playoff berth, and they blew it. So these teams are taking teams seriously in the SEC, and they're still losing. The road games are difficult. Tennessee's got to be concerned about that. Now, Tennessee has a few things working in their favor when they go visit Vanderbilt. Nashville's not really a road game for Tennessee. I'm just going to be honest, it's not. It may be for Alabama and other schools, but Nashville is Vol country. I'm still willing to bet that more of that stadium is Tennessee fans than Vanderbilt fans. The neutral site thing does not affect Tennessee on the road the way actually road games do. So the distractions won't be there with the offense if it's a neutral site game, which it effectively could be. So there's going to be more Vol fans. So that's one thing working in Tennessee's favor, that it actually could be like a home game for Tennessee. The other is, as I've told you, they're not taking Vanderbilt. They're not going to take Vanderbilt lightly. They're going to take them seriously. Finally, and most importantly, I think, this isn't the same Vanderbilt team that upset Alabama. So here's what's happened with college football. And we're going to talk a little parity for a minute. With NIL in the transfer portal, more parity has set in than ever before. What has come of that parity? In September and October, and yes, now late November, if a lesser team is healthy and playing at home, they can upset anybody. That's how Vanderbilt upset Alabama. That's how Florida upset Ole Miss because Florida got healthy at the right time. That's been happening everywhere. Tennessee is definitely more healthy and less banged up right now than Vanderbilt is, believe it or not. Vanderbilt, the season has worn on with them, and so now they're getting banged up a little bit. And this is what you always say about those lesser teams that have the grind of a season. They can pull off the upset in September and October. Can they do it in late November? Vanderbilt doesn't have a lot of depth. The key with NIL on the transfer portal is it has lessened the depth of the elite teams to where they're capable of losing to lesser teams. But that doesn't mean the lesser teams aren't vulnerable to lack of depth. They are. And Vanderbilt is vulnerable to lack of depth and doesn't have it. So Tennessee should be able to beat them. Now, I know many of you guys will say, well, Vanderbilt did play LSU close last week, and they did, and they played them close on the road. I think LSU's quit on the season, guys. So I don't even think that counts. So that's what's working in Tennessee's favor. However, Josh Heupel was asked to address this yesterday, and playing on the road at Vanderbilt, guys, it would be brutal for Tennessee if they cost themselves a playoff berth because they lose to Vanderbilt on the road the last game of the year. Again, they have cost themselves big games in the postseason before by losing to Vanderbilt. Okay, 2005 was just a weird upset, but they did cost themselves a bowl game by losing to Vanderbilt that year. 2016, under Butch Jones, the life champions at least could have gone to a New Year's Six bowl to celebrate in their first major bowl in years. Had they beaten Vanderbilt that day, they lost because the defense was horrible. Tennessee can't take this game lightly. They have a few issues. Jeremiah Thielander has been way below average the last two games, and Vanderbilt uses Diego Pavia to run and pass the ball all over the field. Thielander gets out of position a lot. Okay, so I got to be honest, Tennessee has to be concerned about that. More importantly than that, Tennessee has to be more wanting to play this game. Look, you hate to talk generalities. Are we sure Tennessee wants this game more than Vanderbilt does? I know that sounds crazy. You're like, of course, the college football playoff is on the line. Of course they do. That doesn't mean anything. Vanderbilt still would love nothing more than to ruin Tennessee's playoff season, guys. They wanted it more. And it's not like Tennessee has not played games before where they had everything to play for and the other team still wanted it more. The 2001 SEC championship game, Tennessee didn't want to play that game. They just wanted to go straight to the Rose Bowl to play for the national title against Miami. LSU wanted to play that game, and LSU shocked them. Of course, there was a quarterback change. Tennessee wasn't prepared for the quarterback draw, but there was a lot going on there. But at the same time, Tennessee did not want to play that game. So that's a big issue, guys. And Tennessee really needs to be careful, okay? Because if not, then some things could end up not going their way. The show brought to you by Dynasty Pools and Spas.
For Dynasty Pools and Spas, your home for the best spas and everything you need to jump right in. Relaxing? Therapeutic? Absolutely. But what sets Dynasty Pools and Spas apart from others is that you get everything with any spa purchase. You get the cover lift, the steps, delivery, and chemicals. When Dynasty Pools and Spas delivers your spa from their Athens location within 125 miles, you'll get your own personal hydrotherapy spa. Mention me, Dave Hooker, or Off the Hook Sports, and get $500 off your top quality new spa. Dynasty Pools and Spas, just off the Athens exit. Drop in and receive a free gift from Off the Hook Sports, Dynasty Pools and Spas. Mention Off the Hook Sports for a drop-in prize and that $500 discount, Dynasty Pools and Spas. To check out some of the Dynasty Spa models and to buy spa chemicals, go to dynastypoolsandspas.com. Dynasty Pools and Spas.
All right, welcome back. Again, Tennessee playing on the road is going to be a big issue. They have to be very careful about it. Things could get really, really sour really, really fast if they don't. And truth be told, that's not going to be a good situation. So again, SEC road games have been rough this year, guys. I don't want to pretend like they haven't, okay? So Tennessee really, really needs to be prepared for this. We don't know how this is all going to work out, but I will say that the SEC road games are a big problem. And if Tennessee's not careful, again, I'm just going to insist this. If Tennessee's not careful, then you could see a very, very, very major fear of them losing to Vanderbilt. It's been every SEC. I mean, let's look at the SEC teams that have lost unranked games on the road this year. We're going to talk a little bit later about the SEC cannibalizing itself, but let's just get to this real quick. The SEC, just last weekend, Florida lost to Ole Miss. Alabama lost to Oklahoma. And Texas A&M lost to Auburn. Earlier in the year, Tennessee lost to Arkansas. Alabama lost to Vanderbilt. It has been a cluster of mistakes for the SEC and SEC Premier teams losing road games. They should not be losing. It keeps happening. And I mean, again, Georgia got blown out by Ole Miss on the road too. And I thought that was a total fluke. But I mean, again, they did get blown out by Ole Miss. So you have to wonder what was going on there. That was an issue. There's a lot wrong with the SEC right now with the way things are going. And if I'm not mistaken too, LSU losing to Florida, they were a ranked team on the road losing at Florida. But again, that could be just because LSU quit on the season. So, there's a lot going on there. So there's a lot to worry about, but I do have to say the SEC and Tennessee needs to be careful because the history of the road games in this game are an absolute disaster. Derek Owen brings up the Tennessee Vanderbilt game saying Jalen Hurd anchored down, don't he? Yeah, that's kind of funny. That's a pretty good one. Jalen Hurd, he had already left the program, to be fair, by the time the Tennessee Vanderbilt game happened that year. He left it immediately after the South Carolina game. So that was kind of funny. But yeah, that Jalen Hurd story I remember was kind of funny.